Arms will secure the chamber doors. Members, please take your seats. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. President.
All right. Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 42 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland is again in session. We will waive the invocation and substitute the prior invocation from earlier in the day for today's session. Any announcements before we jump in? Everyone was hard at work. No St. Patty's Day partying for the Senate of Maryland. We're all doing the work of the people. All right, no announcements. Let's go ahead and waive the reading of the journal from the prior legislative session. We're going to go back right where we started. So our first order of business will be the special order calendar number 54. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 275, Senator Hayes, Labor and Employment, Family and Medical Leave Insurance Program Establishment, Time to Care Act of 2022. Questions on the adoption of the amendment offered from the floor by Senator Hedelman.
All right, Chair recognizes the senator from District 11. Question is on the amendment, and we'll hear from the maker of the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to clarify the amendment because I think there was some confusion. So I just want to be really clear about it. The first 12 weeks can be used for an illness that you yourself have or for the birth of a child. And the second is the same, can be used for your illness or the birth of a child. So for example, if I, God forbid, am diagnosed with cancer, and I can take up to 12 weeks to deal with that, and then I have a child, I can take another 12 weeks. Same thing, if I have a child, I can take 12 weeks, and if God forbid then I get diagnosed with cancer, I can take 12 weeks after that. That is the scope of the amendment.
All right, Senator moves forward with the amendment. Any discussion on the amendment? Chair recognizes the senator from the 32nd District on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I ask the floor leader to yield?
Appears so.
Or the maker of the amendment.
Of course.
Thank you.
May proceed.
Thank you. Someone explained this amendment to me differently, and I just want to ask you about this. It was explained to me that this was for a difficult pregnancy followed by a birth. So
It could be.
but it can also be other things.
Yes. It could be if it is about you and it's a difficult pregnancy and you are on bed rest, you can do that and then the birth and have 12 weeks.
Thank you.
All right, Chair recognizes the minority whip on the amendment.
Mr. President, may I ask the maker of the amendment also?
Senator may proceed.
We're going to keep clarifying just to be sure. This is not if my spouse, my wife has a child. It's only if, not me, but.
It's both. It's both.
Okay, so I have cancer, God forbid, or I have, let's just say a serious illness.
Yes.
But then my wife, so I get 24 weeks then also, up to.
Up to. If your spouse has a baby, and yes, you have up to 12 weeks of bonding time with that new child.
Okay, because you mentioned, and I'm glad you said that, because that was you talked about bonding, which by the way is a very important thing. I totally agree with. Okay, I'm going to thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm going to speak this amendment. Just speaking for myself, I know I'm the minority whip, but speaking just personally for myself, if there was an amendment up here that said for the woman who has the baby, has a difficult pregnancy and uses a bunch of the weeks and then has a child, I'd be much more sympathetic to that, or to have adding a few weeks on to with the pregnant woman who then has a baby. This really is very broad. This is broadening it out to you're giving basically you're giving a man 6 months off, and admittedly they're going through a difficult illness or whatever, but also because they're going to have 12 weeks then, up to 12 weeks with the birth of a child. I just think it's too much. We need to keep this at 12. 12 weeks is very generous already. We also need to be careful, as we've discussed with the program. There's a lot of questions about the funding of this program and the balance of it. So I'm going to resist the amendment, Mr. President, and oppose the amendment and urge the body to oppose it. And let's keep it at 12 weeks with the fine work that the Finance Committee did on this bill.
All right. On the amendment, any further discussion? Chair recognizes Minority Leader.
Yeah, if I could just ask the maker of the amendment a question.
Pierce, so Senator may proceed.
Just so I understand, I mean, I hear we're talking about having a child and birth and so forth, but I'm looking at the section, I believe this amends, and it seems like if you have a foster child placed in your house, this would apply to that as well. And it's not just they had a birth. My wife had 7 kids, God bless her. And I have to tell you, the first couple weeks were tough, and my mother-in-law came down, really helped. I said, I'm too late to this program. I'd probably have quite a bit of time off with my 7 kids. But I can understand that. But it also, I believe in there also says it's up to 1 year. So somebody could say, you know, we use a couple weeks in the front, and then, you know, the child is 9 months old, or we've had a foster child in our house for 9 months, and we want to take, you know, 10 weeks or whatever. Is that correct?
Well, it's covered, a foster child is covered, but the 12 weeks holds. I don't know where a year comes from.
Well, it says care for a newborn, foster care, individual during the first year after the birth, adoption, or placement. So you could wait 9 months to take the 12 weeks. So after they've been in your home for 9 months, you could say, okay, and at this point, I'd like to take 12 weeks off or whatever. Is that correct?
I don't know the answer to that. I will have to check on that.
Okay.
And we can get back to you.
Before we vote?
Wait, is that, just to clarify, is that on the amendment or the bill itself?
The amendment references this section.
Let's see if maybe do we have an answer from the floor?
Could you just rephrase the question? I was on the phone with counsel. So we just,
Sure. The way the amendment was presented was someone has a child and they can take 9 weeks off. Or the parents can take 9 weeks off. But in this section...
Wait. Start again,
Well,
because that's
sorry
not
about that.
correct.
So it was said that if somebody had a birth,
Correct.
they could take up to 12 weeks off with this. And when I referenced back to where the amendment was going, it said they could do that up to 1 year. So it wasn't just after the birth. It could be when the child is 9 months old or the placement of the foster child's 9 months.
I'll just be candid. Our counsel doesn't know what you're talking about, where this 1 year references.
Well, it's
Section
covered-
8.3-701.
Okay, maybe I'll yield. Maybe sponsor of the amendment is looking at some language.
It's within the first year of life, and my understanding is it's covered just like it is under FMLA currently.
Okay, so this would apply for up to a year. Okay, thank you.
First year of the baby. First year of the baby, that's different than, you can't take a year off. It's the first year of the baby.
Right. I'd like to. All right. Yes, Chair recognizes the senator from the 36th District.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. President. Question again for the sponsor.
An insult. No.
Sorry. Sponsor of the amendment.
Senator may proceed.
Again, I think a lot of us want to just make sure we fully understand what this does now. The only way to get 12 weeks twice is to have had the care for a newborn or child first, right?
No. As I explained, you can also have an illness, a serious illness first, and then have a child. Or if you need to go on bed rest, for example, that could be the first part of the first tranche of 12 weeks.
It says that a covered individual may receive an additional 12 weeks of benefits if the covered individual during the same year received benefits because the covered individual was eligible for the benefits under 701A1, which is the care of the newborn. So it says received, and then it says and becomes eligible for benefits under 701A13, which is the serious health conditions. So it doesn't say that you could have the serious health conditions first and then have 12 weeks for the care of it. It's very specific. It says that you have already received those benefits and then you become eligible again. Is that right?
My understanding is that it is both. It can be either the illness first and then the bonding after, or the bonding first and the illness after.
I don't think that's what this says.
Would the amendment sponsor yield for a moment?
Sure.
Let's hear from the Chair of Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs on the amendment.
Senator, again, this is not my specialty. That's Roman numeral 1 in the amendment, sub 1. And then it has an or, and then it has 2, and then it does the same thing in a reversed order.
Correct, that's correct.
We always agree, so I'll okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Okay, so it still then would allow, based on both of these conditions, care of a newborn or serious illness, up to now 24 weeks of paid leave, right?
Correct.
Okay, and then can you go through again, there's conversations again about the mother and the father. Are both eligible for this the entire time? So 2 individuals could get up to 24
Correct.
weeks? Yes?
Correct.
Okay. And when you say that bonding time, is that just under care of a newborn? Is that where bonding time comes from? You mentioned it's not specifically related, but it says care of a newborn child or child newly placed.
Right. That's what I mean by bonding time. It is forming an attachment with either a newborn or a newly adopted child or foster child.
Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Chair recognizes the Senator from Frederick City on the amendment.
I want to play some people I know. I take 12 weeks, and then I take 12 more weeks, and I've built up 42 sick days, and I have 4 weeks vacation coming. So I can take 12, 12, 6, and 4.
My understanding, and I would ask for some help from the floor leader, but my understanding is you have to use your sick leave and vacation leave first, I believe. Is that not correct?
So I can take them first, then use
Or
the
that-
12 and 12?
It depends on your employer's policy.
Okay.
You wanna-
Let's hear from the floor leader on it.
Just to clarify, so the employer under the bill can make you take your other leave first before you tap into the program.
Okay, so I take my
Is
6
that
and
correct?
4.
Yeah.
I take my 6 and 4 first, then I take 12 and 12.
Yes.
Good. If I'm a teacher, then I make sure I get sick the 1st of September and I get paid for the whole school year.
Chair recognizes the Senator from Prince George's on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to rise to speak in support of this amendment. I don't often talk about my personal life too much on this floor, but I just thought it might be illustrative for me to tell you all a very quick story. As a young mother, I actually experienced preterm labor and was a new employee, 6, 8 months on the job. I needed 12 weeks of bed rest, had a terbutaline pump, had to give myself an injection in the thigh every couple of days, had a visiting nurse. It wasn't fun. And at the time, I was living with my husband then, and he was working full time. And so I wasn't able to get out of bed but to take a shower and then get back into bed. Preterm labor, very serious contractions throughout. And what ended up happening is he had to pack my breakfast and lunch, had a commute to work, and so I had to live out of this cooler every day to get my meals. And it was really frustrating. I had friends that brought meals over to me, but I couldn't go down to the fridge to get the meals. I couldn't heat the meals, things like that. And so that process was about 12 weeks. And then because I had a complicated pregnancy, there was time after that that I needed time at home with help to make sure that I transitioned through the next phase and being a new mother. And so I know that there have been a lot of discussions about the amount of time someone might be able to take off or different scenarios, and we can run different scenarios as long as we sit here and do all sorts of math and this and that. But at the end of the day, these are situations where, and by the way, if I didn't mention, I was not able to retain my job through that process. And so fortunately, about 6 or 8 months later, I was able to get another job. But at the end of the day, this bill seeks to protect people who find themselves in unpredictable situations. As you all know, last year, I had a series of unfortunate and unpredictable events that caused me to experience a lot of time away from my employment. And some of you know that I made a personal decision not to continue working, but it was a difficult decision to make. The series of events that impacted me and my family over this past year, I pray no one else has to have those kinds of experiences back to back, but there were months that I was just not able to perform my work duties, needed to help take care of my dad, then needed to help take care of my sister's family, and then ultimately needed to travel to help take care of my niece and her children. And so I would just ask you all to consider that sometimes things just aren't predictable. This bill seeks to keep people employed. I'm fortunate that I am a ridiculously crazy saver, so I'm going to be okay. For those of you that are praying for me and all that, we're going to be okay. But these unpredictable circumstances impacted other family members of mine differently. And so I'm going to support this amendment just because I know life happens. And life is tough, and you can't predict it. And I don't believe there are the circumstances where someone would sit and manipulate a set of circumstances so they could get a portion of their pay and collect these resources at home. I think that this is an insurance program to protect people for when life happens. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right, on the amendment,
I did
Chair
just want
recognizes
to
the
point
floor leader.
one thing. I mentioned this earlier today, but just a couple of things. First of all, the weeks you're talking about being we have states, including New York, that actually straight up provide 26 weeks. California actually 52 weeks. But that aside, I know that's not going to be persuasive to these folks. But I also I want to harp trying to build protections into the bill, and we very specifically have these hardship protections, which would allow an employer to deny the leave if it would be a problem for the operation in any way. So we've tried to build in all kinds of protections, and I just want to sort of throw that into the mix, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right, I think we know the issue on the amendment. Are there any further discussion on the amendment? Chair recognizes the senator from the 42nd, followed by the senator from Montgomery County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can I ask a question or two of the floor leader on the bill?
On the floor leader?
On the amendment, I'm sorry, on the amendment. Yeah.
Senator may proceed.
Yes, earlier we had a conversation about the cost of the bill.
Yes.
And I mentioned that it seemed to be sort of, we're flying by the seat of our pants on this because it's not an existing program. We're guesstimating how much it's going to cost. I heard the number of over $1 billion in the first year. Was that correct?
I don't recall where the gentleman from the 36 got that number, but there's going to be some upstart costs. Again, the program itself is not going to be up and running for the most part until full-blown 2025 and 2023. The fall of 2023, you're going to have contributions. Between now and then, there will be some upstart costs. I don't think that has yet been quantified. We're going to be doing a lot of analysis between now and then. And at the end of the day, the fund will be supporting the administration and the administrative costs associated with this program.
And that's what we discussed this morning. Let me ask you a follow-on question. If this amendment is passed and we give a second 12 weeks, how much is the program going to cost?
Well, I don't think it would impact that. This would impact, for example, the rate cap. I mean, it's about the claims. So this would add to the number of claims, potential claims over the bill, not the bill as introduced, which was broader. This is actually much narrower than the bill as introduced. This is an expansion of the bill that came out of the Finance Committee, but it would have an impact ultimately when the actuaries kick in and have to make that decision on an annual basis, how much that rate will be. So it would have some impact in terms of the claims potentially that would have to be paid out.
Well, the bill currently provides that the cap on the percentage of someone's income that person would have to pay into the fund, the cap is 0.75% of 1%.
0.75 is the top
It's a
that could
cap,
possibly be.
a cap.
Right.
If this amendment is passed, and we're not going to offer not 12 weeks, but 24 weeks, is it possible that that cap would have to be increased to something over than 1% of the person's income?
Well, several things. Number one, this isn't taking it to 24 weeks. This is 24 weeks in a very narrow category that the sponsor of the amendment discussed. So this is not a broad sweeping, everybody who is a covered employee gets an additional 12 weeks. That's not what this amendment does, number one. Secondly, we will, and I keep saying this, but we will have an actuarial study done this fall before January of 2023 that will clearly take into effect whatever we do here in this body. The actuary will need that data. The actuary will need to know what we passed in this chamber or in the General Assembly and take that into account between now and next January. So it's possible. I can't predict it. 0.75 is, again, the cap. We may end up at 0.6, maybe under the cap. This will add some additional claims, but it's narrow, it's not broad, and I would imagine the impact would be not what you're suggesting at all.
So my final question is, has anyone run the numbers to see how much this amendment's going to cost?
You keep saying how much it's going to cost. This will be, an actuary will take this up in the fall. So the answer...
The employees and the employers are going to pay for it. Has anyone run the numbers to figure out how much more the employees are going to have to pay into the system and how much more the employers are going to have to pay in the system if we pass this amendment?
Well, it'll be less than the bill that came in as introduced, which the 0.75 was based on the bill that came in as introduced, and this is now a narrower swath. So if 0.75 was good for the bill as introduced, I would think that this would fall far below that 0.75 because we're excluding a whole category of workers under the original bill that could sort of make claims for an additional 12 weeks. This additional 12 weeks is for a much narrower category than the original bill where that actuarial study was done based on. So I think that's kind of how I would respond to you.
Thank you. Mr. President, could I also ask a question of the sponsor of the amendment?
The maker of the amendment yield. Senator may proceed.
Thank you. The second half of your amendment puts serious restraints on an employer in terms of firing the employee who takes 12 or 24 weeks off and requiring the employer to hire the employee back. Have you considered the possibility that some of these employees are going to be indispensable employees to their companies, and the companies will simply have to find someone to perform that task that very few people can do? Isn't it likely that if the employer tells the prospective replacement employee that the job is only a 12-week job or a 24-week job, that the employer is going to have a very difficult time finding someone to replace that indispensable employee for 12 weeks or 24 weeks?
So this is currently what happens under FMLA. So employers we're not changing the standard by which they make those accommodations right now. They are used to dealing with this standard, and what this amendment does is just clarify that the language only applies to the job restoration. It doesn't apply to the benefits or the leave.
Okay, I'm not sure that was the answer. The answer to my question. Let me just give a hypothetical situation. The employer has a key salesman. The salesman has contacts with the main companies that buy the product sold by that corporation. The salesman now is going out for 24 weeks. The employer has to find someone to handle sales for those 24 weeks. Don't you think the employer is going to have a hard time finding someone who can step in and play the role of salesman for 24 weeks and then have no job after 24 weeks because the original employee is coming back?
I hear the dilemma, but that's not different from the dilemma that they are dealing with right now. And they will have to make an accommodation to find someone to perform that position while the employee is out. Okay. So that doesn't different from their current situation.
All right, thank you.
All right. Further discussion, Chair recognizes the Senator from Montgomery County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Real fast, colleagues, I just wanted to point out something that I think has gotten a little bit lost in the discussion on the floor this evening. And we're hearing, hypotheticals about when to get sick, what the timing of that should be, and I'll get sick at this point to get these benefits. That's not what's in the bill. The amendment and the bill relate to serious health conditions. It's defined in the bill. Serious health condition means an illness, an injury, an impairment, or a physical or mental condition that involves the following: inpatient care in a hospital, hospice, or residential health care facility, continued treatment by a licensed health care provider, or continued treatment or supervision at home by a licensed health care provider or other competent individual under the supervision of a licensed health care provider. That's what this applies to. That's the illness that we're referring to in the amendment, in the bill. This isn't just, I'm not feeling well, I'm going to take off for 12 weeks or 24 weeks. Very well defined, very specific. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right, on the amendment. All, if there's no further discussion, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Aye. All opposed? No. Chair is in doubt. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Echo. Has everyone submitted their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. If we could hold the vote, if we could strike the vote.
I apologize. This is a rare vote for me that's between my heart and my head. The House.
Senator, are you explaining, is the
I was explaining
effort to
my
explain
vote.
Okay, let's
Or-
strike
or
the,
we-
let's
or
strike
we-
the call. Let's strike the call. Senator requested before the vote had been taken.
Okay, before the vote has been taken. Okay, thank you.
But we're going to take the call.
I can do it either way. I can be less than 2 minutes either way if you like.
All right. Has everyone recorded their vote? Would anyone like to change their vote? Senator has 2 minutes to explain her vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. So as I was saying, I think this is a close call between heart and head. The House has passed a commission. They're not even moving forward on this. This is a serious opportunity. I totally support this issue. I think we should be supporting our families. But I also think, especially during COVID, as we're recovering from COVID, I think we also have to be mindful of our employers, our small businesses, our nonprofits, and others. And we need to make sure that while we support our employees, that we also don't cause too many further challenges. For that reason, I very reluctantly cast a red vote on this. Thank you.
All right. Any further senators wish to explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 27 votes in the affirmative, the senator's amendment is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 275 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. All right, let's go back to the unfinished calendar that we had from earlier today. Oh,
Mr. President?
oh, we do have another. Oh, I did not see
I
it.
have an
Apologies,
amendment,
I was
Mr.
going too
President.
quickly. All right, we will reconsider. Did we already lock it in that we move to the next, or are we good to reconsider? Okay. All right, the senator has amendment. We will collect the amendment. Senator will explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, to clarify the amendment that I introduced earlier today and that was adopted by the committee, there was some question as to whether we clearly had incorporated our friends in the developmental disabilities community. So this amendment makes it very clear that they were part of the amendment that I offered earlier today. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Moves the amendment from the floor, Leader.
That is a friendly amendment, Mr.
All
President.
right, friendly amendment. Chair recognizes the senator from the 36th district.
Just the clarification of the earlier amendment and how this fits into that, please.
So the earlier amendment was an issue that we had heard about in committee, as I know the gentleman's aware of, to make sure that our behavioral health services and the developmental disabilities communities would have the employer's share of the costs associated with the program covered by the state. That was the amendment I offered earlier today and was adopted, but there was some concern that maybe the language in the amendment did not fully encapsulate the developmental disabilities community. So this amendment makes it very clear that they are part of what we did earlier.
So, and to clarify, the employer's share is picked up by the state. The employee's share is still picked up by the employee.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, are there any objections to the senator's amendment? All in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The amendment carries. Are there any further amendments? Chair recognizes the senator from the 37th district.
I just had, if the floor leader would rise for just a quick response.
We don't have anything before us at the moment.
Can I ask a question on the bill?
It technically is not before us.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right, on third reader. All right, Senate Bill 275 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. All right, let's now go back to the unfinished business of report number 33, Education, Health, Environmental Affairs. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 630, Senator Hester, Maryland Department of Emergency Management, Office of Resilience, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the sponsor of the bill as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, when I first came to Annapolis, I was really concerned about flooding in Ellicott City, which had experienced 2 1,000-year floods over less than 2 years. The more I delve into this issue, the more I realize that flooding is an issue across the entire state of Maryland, and we're actually predicted to incur $19 billion worth of real estate damage over the next period of time. And so what Senate Bill 630 does is it requires the appointment of a chief resilient officer to coordinate state and local efforts to build resilience to risks identified in the Maryland Hazard Risk Mitigation Plan and develop a state resilience strategy. So this includes technical assistance for my county, your counties, municipalities across the state to help them develop resilience plans and then help them apply for funding from the federal government to get those plans fulfilled. There were 2 committee amendments. The first one adds co-sponsors, and the second one strikes language that would have required specific state agencies to work with the office on specific tasks, and instead adds uncodified language that encourages the state agencies to coordinate and cooperate with the office to carry out the strategies. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report and the 2 amendments.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 630 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 638, Senator Hedelman, Public Schools, Student Athletics, Requirements and Reports, Elijah Gorman Act, favorable with 2 amendments.
All right, Chair recognizes the Vice Chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think we all remember May of 2018 when the University of Maryland football player Jordan McNair died. And then last October, a Baltimore high school player, Elijah Gorham, also died on the field. And it was because of lack of access to immediate health care. Mr. McNair waited for, there was an hour-long delay before he got help, and with Mr. Gorham there was 45 minutes. So this bill seeks to address that issue by requiring automatic external defibrillators and other training and information. So the bill is modified from where it came in. We We took the House amendments that narrowed the bill and lightened the load on our school systems. We want to make sure that people can quickly get to an AED to save someone's life, an athlete's life. The House said that it's got to be a brief walk. We didn't think that was clear enough. The Senate version came in as 2-minute walk. We compromised and said a 3-minute walk. So there are 2 amendments to this bill. The first was technical, and the second just strikes some provision requiring a lot of reporting, and we clarified some requirements for acclimatization guidelines for student athletes, and required that the middle and high schools adopt a venue-specific action plan for making sure that our athletes are protected. So with that, Mr. President, move the adoption of the 2 amendments in the committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 638 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 744, Senator Hedelman, Housing and Community Development, Affordable Housing, Listing and Disposal of Excess Real Property, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore City as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you know, there's a great deal of, or a good amount of excess real property owned and maintained by the state at a cost. So there's 2 costs. There's the cost to the state to maintain those properties, and there's the cost of lost opportunity to provide other uses. What SB 744 does, based on a DHCD report, is to provide a mechanism to dispose of real property to provide and incentivize affordable housing. The bill would require first the Department of Housing and Community Development to maintain a list. So let's just get a list of all the excess property that's being currently maintained. Our planning department would maintain that list ongoing. Then the proposal would also then provide opportunities to either donate this real property to nonprofits or other organizations that are engaged in community development for the purposes of affordable housing, or sell that property and use the proceeds of that sale or auction to go back into the rental housing fund. There are 2 committee amendments. The first makes technical changes. The second expands the definition of affordable, and it also dispose excess property through leasing. It adds that you can also lease property, not just have it for home ownership. That you have to have a contract to do affordable housing, not just say that you plan to do affordable housing. Also, we want to assess the progress of this program, so there are reporting requirements. The bill passed as amendment unanimously out of committee. I ask for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 744 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 932, Senator Watson, Maryland Intrastate Emergency Management Assistance Compact, City of Bowie, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from Prince George's as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 932 will include the City of Bowie as a participating jurisdiction infrastructure energy management assistance compact. There are no amendments, there was no opposition. In terms of physical impact, the City of Bowie and the local jurisdiction will have a slight increase in terms of revenue. Other than that, Mr. President, I move for adoption of a favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 932 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill. Oh, are we out on that calendar? All right, we're going to go to Budget and Taxation, calendar 19. And Senator, just remember, we got a lot up here. So scheduling wise, we'll see how far we can get tonight. Tomorrow, we will do 10 o'clock tomorrow, and we will likely do 4 in the afternoon tomorrow, maybe a little bit earlier. We'll see what that looks like. And we're still blocking Saturday. There's a lot backed up, and so a lot of second readers are coming in tomorrow. We'll see where we are. So just remember, the longer we go, the higher the likelihood we keep going. All right. That was my riff for the day. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 51, Senator Jackson, Maryland Pediatric Cancer Fund Establishment and Income Tax Checkoff, favorable with one amendment.
Chair recognizes the sponsor of the bill as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, the Maryland Pediatric Cancer Fund, Senate Bill 51, as amended, establishes the Pediatric Fund to be administered by the Maryland Department of Health. Committee amendments were adding of co-sponsors. In addition, the amendment strikes the provisions of the bill establishing an income tax checkoff and instead requires the fund receive at least $5 million in either fiscal year 2023 or 2024. Move adoption of the committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. On the amended report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any amendments, further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 51 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 289, Senator McCray, Historic Revitalization Tax Credit, Funding and Extension, favorable with one amendment.
Chair recognizes the sponsor of the bill as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 289 extends the termination date of the Historic Revitalization Tax Credit Program through fiscal 2031. This bill also extends the program by requiring the governor to provide a minimum appropriation to the Commercial Credit Program and to the Small Commercial Project Trust account established by the bill. Committee amendments. The committee amendments reduces the minimum appropriation to the Commercial Credit Program to $22 million each year. Move adoption of the committee report, Mr. Chair. Mr. President.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The one committee amendment is adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? If not, any objections? Without objection, the report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 289 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 417, Senator Feldman, State Employee and Retiree Health and Welfare Benefits Program, eligibility for enrollment and participation, Independent Agency Health Insurance Option Act, favorable with two amendments.
Chair recognizes Senator from Anne Arundel as the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Colleagues, we have a number of independent or quasi-public agencies across the state. Senate Bill 417, which came through the Pension Subcommittee, would authorize employees of the Maryland Agriculture and Resource-Based Industry Development Corporation, as we lovingly call MARBIDCO, and the Maryland Clean Energy Center to participate in the state employee and retiree health and welfare benefits program under specific circumstances. As amended, the bill adds uncodified language requiring the Secretary of Budget Management within 60 days of the effective date of the bill to determine whether the entities are eligible to enroll and participate in the health insurance benefit options under the program. An eligible entity must pay the state the total cost for each employee's participation, and the Secretary of DBM is also required to submit a report on other non-state entities participating in the state plan. Mr. President, there are two committee amendments. The first makes technical changes to the title, and the second limits the bills of the two entities serving the whole state. The subcommittee spent a lot of time, I'd like to thank them for their input on this, determining when there's an independent agency that serves the entire state, it should be the role of the state they should have the option of entering into the state plan. But when there's an independent agency that maybe has more local focus, we should take a little bit of time, take a beat, and think about that. So that's the second amendment that allows us to get that report and think about it. Move the two committee amendments and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the two amendments are adopted. Now the amended report. Any discussion? you save it? All right, on the favorable report as amended, any objections? Without objections, the report is adopted. Are there any amendments, further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 417 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 561, Senator Feldman, income tax, subtraction, modification, employee-owned businesses, favorable with one amendment.
Chair recognizes the Vice Chair as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a bill to make a small improvement in how we encourage wealth building by working people and promote competition in the economy. For many years, the federal government has had a tax deduction or tax exclusion for a company owner who sells the company or a major interest in the company to their employees. Many businesses grow, the owners want to retire, they want to move on, they have to sell to somebody. Sometimes they sell to a private equity firm, sometimes they sell often to a bigger company, which reduces competition. And years ago, the Congress said, no, we want to have another option for those folks so they can sell it to their employees. What this bill does is simply add a Maryland tax advantage along with the federal tax advantage to make it more attractive for owners who want to sell their company to their employees. There's one amendment adding co-sponsors. I move the amendment and the bill.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment, the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. On the amended report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amended, favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 561 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 636, Senator Zucker, Maryland Department of Health waiver programs, wait list reduction in the WAIT Act, favorable with two amendments.
Chair recognizes the bill sponsor as the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Colleagues, Senate Bill 636 is one of those pieces of legislation that when we look a day, a week, a month, and a year, it will make transformational change in a positive way in people's lives. There are different Medicaid waiver programs in the state. There's community choice waivers, the autism waiver, the family supports waiver, but what often happens is there's a waiting list, and there's thousands upon thousands of fragile children waiting to get services, and often what happens is by the time, the waiting list is sometimes 8 to 9 years, so by the time they get services, they've already aged out. So collectively, Mr. President, the Senate Finance Committee, the entire Senate Finance Committee is on the bill, same with the Budget and Taxation Committee, and we, in a unified voice, say it's time to end the wait. So what this bill does is it starts to create a template, a step forward for the Maryland Department of Health to make sure they're creating a time frame where they're reducing the wait by 50%, measures to implement the plan, making sure that they're evaluating reimbursement rates, and then it's working with the next administration to see what they can do to help implement this program. But these programs are life-changing for people, and it's just a shame that some people don't ever have an opportunity to access it because the spots aren't available. So this helps to do that. There are two amendments. One makes technical change. The other amendment adds all of the members of Budget and Taxation and the Senate Finance Committee on, and Amendment 2 just clarifies that the Maryland Department of Health should develop plans that would reduce each waiver program and conduct eligibility requirements, and also make sure that we're retaining these providers. So with that, I'd move adoption of the, I would move the amendments and adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leaders move for the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the two amendments are adopted. On the amended report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objections, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 636 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. All right, we've got last report from Budget and Tax. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 1486, Delegate Johnson, motor fuel taxes, tax-free period, favorable. This is an emergency bill.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the motor fuel tax, tax-free period, 30 days, that we heard earlier and passed earlier. It's in the exact same position. I move the...
Senator, do you want to make a motion on the rules?
Yes. Move to suspend the rules to have 2 readings in one day.
All right, the senators move to suspend the rules to have 2 readings in the same day. An interesting one. This is first and second reader waiving. So this was introduced, it came over today, but we recessed midway through, so we did not adjourn. So it's an interesting one. I don't think I've ever seen it before. So 2 readings the same day. Are there any objections to the senator's motion? All right. If there are no
Let's not get
objections,
out of hand.
the senator's motion is approved. So with the rule having been suspended for HB 1486, Chair
Mr.
recognizes
President?
the Chair of the...
Just real quick, I understand what we're doing, but we're suspending 2 rules to jump it?
Just one, just on the
one.
first and second. So it was on first, and it was referred to the committee on first, but that legislative day had not concluded. And so it was still the same legislative day because we recessed in between the sessions.
Okay, I don't want this to come back being like, oh, well, we messed up a rule.
Oh, no, we've been...
Say, why not just adopt the second reader and then suspend the rules?
to get it back up in front of us.
Hey, I trust your judgment, sir. So
The joys of the legislative procedure. You know? All right, so with the rule having been suspended, House Bill 1486 is now before the body for second reader. Chair recognizes the Chair of the committee.
Again, it's the same bill we passed earlier to give the tax holiday for 30 days. Move adoption of the committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion on the report? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. House Bill 1480. Oh, are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1486 is ordered passed to third reader. All right, let's go to judicial proceedings. This is calendar number 20. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 691, Senator Carter, Juvenile Justice Reform, favorable with 3 amendments.
Chair recognizes the Senator from Baltimore City as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended, this bill makes numerous changes to the juvenile justice process in the state by generally implementing the recommendations of the Juvenile Justice Reform Council. The bill does a myriad of things. It raises the minimum age for delinquency jurisdiction to 10 for crimes of violence and 13 for all other offenses. It sets statutory timeframes for juvenile probation. It requires courts to consider a validated risk assessment and requires the court to review detention every 14 days. It requires the Department of Juvenile Services to develop a community release plan within 10 days of a decision to detain a child. It prohibits pre-adjudication detention for misdemeanor offenses except handguns and repeat misdemeanor offenses. It prohibits commitment to the Department of Juvenile Services for misdemeanors and technical violations of probation except for firearm offenses. It requires informal adjustment for all first-time referrals for misdemeanor and nonviolent felony offenses except for firearms. And it requires the Governor's Office of Crime Prevention Youth Victim Services to develop a model diversion program. There are 3 committee amendments. Amendment number 1 alters the list of acts for which a child 10, 11, or 12 may be charged in the juvenile court to include all crimes of violence as defined by the criminal law article. Amendment number 2 provides that a child adjudicated delinquent for a first-time misdemeanor involving a firearm may be committed to the Department of Juvenile Services facility. And amendment number 3 eliminates the length of time of probation that the juvenile court may impose on a child adjudicated delinquent for an act which, if committed by an adult, would be a crime punishable by life imprisonment, and provides that a child who commits a non-technical violation of probation may be placed on a new term of probation. I would move the amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 3 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Chair recognizes the Senator from District...
Mr. President, I would move to lay the bill over under the rules.
Senator moves to lay the bill over under the rule. The motion is in order. Bill and the amendments will lie over under the rule. Sticking with judicial proceedings here, let's go to calendar 21. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 6, Senator Wallstreicher, Landlord and Tenant Residential Leases, Tenant Rights and Protections. Tenant Protection Act of 2022, favorable with 4 amendments.
Chair recognizes the Vice Chair of the Committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended, this bill makes multiple changes to statute related to tenants' rights and protections, including 1, establishing requirements and procedures for landlords that use a ratio utility billing system, 2, requiring a statement of costs, 3, requiring a landlord to allow a tenant organization to assemble in a certain manner, and 4, expanding protections for tenants or legal occupants who are victims of domestic abuse. Mr. President, I move to lay this bill over for the purposes of technical amendment.
All right, senators move for the adoption of the 4 committee amendments in the favorable committee report, and it's followed with a motion to lay the bill and the amendments over. The motion is in order. So ordered. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 592, Senator Lee, Landlord and Tenant Right to Redemption of Leased Premises, Form of Payment, favorable with 2 amendments. This is an emergency bill.
Chair recognizes the bill sponsor as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill, as amended, is an emergency bill that specifies an action for summary ejectment for failure to pay rent where a landlord or a mobile home park owner is awarded judgment for providing for the repossession of the subject premises where the tenant or resident who has right to redemption, a check issued by a political subdivision by a governmental entity has the same effect as a payment made by a tenant or resident under the current law. There's amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 strikes the bill's language requiring a landlord or mobile home park owner to accept a certain check and specifies that a check issued by a political subdivision by a governmental entity has the same effect as a payment made by the tenant or resident exercising the right of redemption under the current law, and makes conforming changes to Baltimore City. Please move favorable the committee report with amendments.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of 2 committee amendments in the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report is amended. Chair recognizes the senator from the 42nd District on the report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Could I ask two questions of the floor leader?
Certainly.
Appears so. Senator may proceed.
Thank you. Does this bill require landlords to enter into agreements, contracts, or stipulations?
No, it does not.
Secondly, is it correct to say that this bill only requires a landlord to accept an electronic or written check as a monetary instrument?
That is correct.
Thank you very much.
All right. Any further discussion on the report? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 592 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 772, Senator Carter, Child in Need of Assistance, Neglect, Marijuana Use, favorable with 1 amendment.
Chair recognizes the sponsor of the bill as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill alters the definition of neglect and statutory provisions that govern child in need of assistance Senate proceedings. The bill specifies that neglect does not include the mere use of marijuana by a parent or individual who has permanent or temporary care or custody responsibility for supervision of the child unless, as a result of the use of marijuana, the child's health or welfare is harmed or placed at substantial risk of harm, or the child has suffered mental injury or been placed at substantial risk of mental injury. There is 1 committee amendment. The amendment specifies that neglect does not include the mere use of marijuana. I would move the favorable committee report in 1 committee amendment.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 1 committee amendment in the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. On the amendment, Chair recognizes the senator from the 35th. On the bill. Any objections with the amendment? Without objections, the amendment is adopted. Question is on the amended, the favorable report is amended. Chair recognizes the senator from the 35th District on the report.
Yes, would the floor leader yield, please, for a question?
Appears so. Senator may proceed.
So I'm assuming this is starting down the road as we look at possibly legalizing marijuana. This is kind of one of those things that's going to play into that.
Well, it's not necessarily connected to it, but, you know, it's no secret that we are potentially looking at ending marijuana prohibition. We've already decriminalized small amounts.
Right.
So, yes.
So the question is, in these cases right now, can it be brought up if a parent is an alcohol issue? Can that be brought up?
So yes, and this can be brought up too. It just can't be used as the reason to contend that the parent has been neglectful.
Okay, can alcohol be used as a reason to contend the parent is neglectful?
Everything can be used to, alcohol and marijuana can both be used to make that claim. But the mere fact that someone drinks alcohol is not reason to claim neglect, and the mere use of marijuana would not be reason under this bill.
But if someone's severely impaired, though, by it, I mean, if someone's, intoxicated with alcohol, how does that compare?
So the bill makes provisions, specific provisions, that the mere use of marijuana does not constitute neglect. However, if there is use of marijuana that interferes with the child's health and welfare, or the child is harmed or placed at substantial risk of harm, or the child has suffered mental injury or placed at substantial risk, then that wouldn't be affected. So I think, to answer your question, if you're concerned that a person or a parent that uses marijuana, that this would somehow mean that this wouldn't even be a consideration, that's not accurate. It can still be a consideration. It's going to be a fact-specific determination, as opposed to just, a reason to remove a child or not return a child to a parent.
Okay, thanks for your answers.
Thank you.
All right, any further discussion on the report? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 772 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 775, Senator Carter, Courts, Payment for Jury Service, favorable.
Chair recognizes the bill sponsors the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a wonderful bill that we should all embrace, because it really helps incentivize persons serving on juries all over the state of Maryland. This bill increases from $15 to $30 the basic state per diem for jury service and the per diem for trial jurors for the first 5 days of jury service. There are no committee amendments. I would move the favorable committee report.
All right, floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Chair recognizes the senator from the 36th district on the report.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Just a question. Why was this necessary?
Well, it was necessary because $15 is a horrifically low amount of money for someone to spend an entire day away from work, possibly, or other commitments to do it. And oftentimes, even the cost of parking in urban areas such as Baltimore and other places is more than that $15. It doesn't even cover lunch in some instances. And so, we know that there's sometimes a reluctance for people to serve, and this would just help incentivize people to want to do it. So I think it's a good thing.
I didn't realize that there's a reluctance to serve. I thought if they called you, you had to serve. Is that not accurate?
You have to serve, but many people, they go up to they say to the court during voir dire, this is going to make me miss time from work, and people don't like that. They don't like that they're ripped from their lives, and there's on the alternative, there's no compensation for it. So this is just to make it not as difficult to manage serving, especially if it means taking time from work, because they don't compensate that. Employers are not required to compensate for jury service.
I knew they weren't required, but many do. But okay, thank you very much.
All right, on the report, any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 775 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Sticking with judicial proceedings, calendar 22. Clerk, read the first bill.
Senate Bill 465, Senator Carter, Vehicle Laws, Licenses and Permits, Prohibited Acts, favorable.
Chair recognizes bill sponsors the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill repeals a catch-all provision prohibiting a person from doing an act forbidden by or failing to do an act required by Title 16 of the Transportation Article, which generally governs driver's licenses. Just basically, members of the body, it's a code cleanup for a rather superfluous provision that doesn't have a great deal of meaning. It can cause someone to be arrested, but the numbers that we have from the fiscal note is there's only been one conviction for this provision, so it really is more of a detriment to society than a benefit. So I would move the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 465 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 517, Senator Bailey, Criminal Procedure, Location Information, Exigent Circumstances, Kelsey Smith Act for Maryland, favorable with 2 amendments.
2 or 4?
With 4 amendments.
Okay. All right. Chair recognizes the sponsor of the bill as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended, this bill requires a service provider, on request of a law enforcement agency, to provide the location information of an electronic device owned or used by a person who's been reported missing. The amended bill prohibits a law enforcement officer from requesting information from a service provider under the bill's provision if the law enforcement officer knows that the owner or user of the electronics device has not been reported missing. The bill sets up penalties if that officer violates that, and the bill also sets up the fact that if the cell phone or the electronic device is pinged, then the individual that it was pinged under a reasonable point of time realizes that the bill was pinged. The law enforcement agency is required to report specified information about requests to service providers under the bill to the Governor's Office of Crime Prevention, Youth and Victim Services. There were 4 amendments. 1 was technical. 2 provides that the bill applies to only persons that are missing. Amendment number 3 strikes the provisions of the bill. 4 establishes the criminal prohibition notice and reporting requirements. Passed the committee unanimously. I move for the adoption of the favorable committee report and the amendments.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 4 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 4 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 517 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 520, Senator Washington, Motor Vehicles, Speed Limits, Establishment and Enforcement, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 44th District as the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. As amended, this bill authorizes Baltimore City to decrease or raise to a previously established level the maximum speed limit on a road under its jurisdiction without performing an engineer on traffic investigation. The bill prohibits any local jurisdiction from using an existing speed camera or implementing a new speed camera to enforce speed limits on the portion of the road for which the speed limit has been decreased without performing an engineer on traffic investigation. There are 2 amendments. The first is technical, and the second clarifies the authority of Baltimore City under the bill and adds a prohibition on any local jurisdiction using an existing speed camera to enforce speed limits to any portion of a road for which the speed limit has been decreased without an investigation. The committee vote was unanimous. Mr. President, I move adoption of the amendments in the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of 2 amendments in the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 2 committee amendments are adopted. Now the amended report. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 520 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 612, Senator Bidle, Street Racing and Exhibition Driving, Prohibited Acts and Enforcement, favorable with 4 amendments.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. A few years ago, the senator from Ocean City brought us a bill to deal with the H2O contest that happens every year. It was called a special events bill. And so this year, we brought a bill forward to deal with speed racing and exhibition racing and then muffler sound. So in downtown Silver Spring a few months ago, you might have seen it on the news that there was a huge rally, a race rally that came down Columbia Pike. It came to downtown Silver Spring Town Center and did a huge a couple hundred people and did a rally, a car rally right in the middle of our town center there. So what this bill does is, as amended, the bill increases penalties and points assessments for violations related to participation in racing or speed contests. The bill also establishes a statewide prohibition on exhibition driving. In addition, the bill authorizes a police officer to order the towing and impoundment of a vehicle that is driven either at a race or speed contest or an exhibition driving event. And then finally, the bill creates a new prohibition on modifying an exhaust system or noise abatement device on a motor vehicle in a manner which causes the vehicle to violate any local laws limiting the noise in the jurisdiction in which the modification occurred, and that incurs a $200 penalty. There are 4 amendments. 1 is technical, 2 modifies the definition of exhibition driving, 3 eliminates provisions which prohibited attending a race or speed contest or an engagement of an exhibition driving event, and number 4 adds the prohibition on modifying the exhaust system or noise abatement device. Mr. President, I move adoption of the 4 committee amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 4 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 4 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? If not, yes, Chair recognizes the senator from Charles County on the report.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Question for Mr. Chairman.
Will the floor leader yield? Appears so. Senator may proceed.
Yes. Very interesting bill. Could you tell us, Mr. Chairman, what is exhibition driving?
Sure, let me pull up the bill and I'll give you the exact definition we came up with. Which page is it on? Let me see, hold on. Actually, I have the inline right here. Got it. Okay, so page 3, if you can pull it up on your laptop system, exhibition driving means, and it's from line 7 to 24. So the operation of 2 or more motor vehicles in a reckless manner that results in 2 or more of the following. The excessive abrupt acceleration or deceleration of a motor vehicle, the skidding, squealing, burning, or smoking of the tires of a motor vehicle, the swerving or swaying of the motion vehicle from the side to side while skidding, the engine of the motor vehicle producing an unreasonably loud, raucous, and disturbing noise, and so on. This was taken from the bill from the senator from Ocean City, the special events zone bill. That's what that definition is borrowed from.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will not do any of those things.
I do at least one of those things a day, so it's okay.
But not 2.
But not 2, not 2.
All right. Any further discussion on the report? Yes, Chair recognizes the senator from Carroll County on the...
Thank you, Mr. President. I wonder if the floor leader, the chair, would yield for question.
Senator may proceed.
Thank you. And I remember, Mr. Chairman, the Ocean City, it took us a couple years to get that just right. So I'm glad we did, because I know it's a huge issue down there. I was trying to figure out the muffler situation in this bill. So I think we're all probably familiar with people who have these obnoxious sounds in their cars as they drive by. I live pretty close to a main route, and you hear people that I'm not quite sure why anybody thinks it's cool, but they do. But how are you getting at the muffler issue?
Sure, so we toyed around with this. First, we thought we were going to go and say, well, if you have the muffler, then you could be stopped. If your muffler is exceeding the sound of the local ordinance, then you could be stopped. But through our discussions, we thought that would lead to more of a profiling, all right? So essentially, we went to the folks that were actually doing the modification. So when you go to a shop to get it modified, it's the sound ordinance where the location of the shop is located. You cannot affix a device that would exceed the ordinance in the jurisdiction in which the shop is located.
Okay, can you say?
I'll say it. So you
say
go to
it
the
one more
shop.
time, yeah.
You go to the shop. You go to the auto body shop, right? Right. And you get your muffler affixed. So let's say the auto body shop is in.
And let me
Silver
interrupt you.
Spring.
Can I interrupt you to ask, because I'm going to be sure I get it? You're going. Obviously, you buy a car.
Buy a car.
There's a muffler on the car, but you're going to go and get a specialty muffler put on the car, correct? So
Correct.
You're going to West Coast Customs or whatever.
West Coast Customs in Silver Spring, and let's say, I'm just making this up, let's say the ordinance level is 8, right? So if you're in Silver Spring, you cannot make you cannot put that muffler on that exceeds the level 8 Montgomery County ordinance.
But what? Okay, well, that makes. I understand you don't. It's just tricky because, like, let's say the guy's from Prince George's County and he's getting it done in Silver Spring, and the Prince George's is a different. I assume a different level, or.
It could be, and that's the you can't. Because
calm down. I'm not bringing Prince George's into it. Calm down.
No, it's. I mean, that's right. So it has to do with the local jurisdiction which it's in. If they travel to another jurisdiction and the ordinance level is at a different level, it has nothing to do with it. It's only attached to the decibel level in the jurisdiction in which it was affixed.
So how then does someone get pulled over for this? I'm honestly not trying to be difficult, because this is a problem in my community, so I'm trying to be sure I can help people know how to, like, report this or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, so if you're violating whatever local ordinance, if someone complains that your muffler is exceeding that sound, that's probably how you get pulled over. But again, this goes toward the shop, not the person, but...
Well, who's on the hook, the person or the shop?
The shop. They're going to say, hey, where'd you get it done? And they're going to say, oh, you got it done in Silver Spring. And then they're going to find out. Yeah.
So the shop would get in trouble even if you're pulled over 100 miles away?
Only if you're in that jurisdiction. So, okay.
Okay, so now,
Okay. So if you're still on the hook personally for violating a noise ordinance wherever you are, whatever the local law is, wherever you are, that's on you.
You personally are on the hook, right? Okay.
But if you are in the jurisdiction in which it was affixed, and you get caught, you are on the hook, and so too is the shop.
But if I'm caught in Carroll County and it was done in Montgomery County, the shop in Montgomery County is not on the hook because they couldn't possibly have known.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Well, that's good to know. Okay, and then finally, there's no exception. Actually, I think I've got it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, on the report, Chair recognizes the senator from Prince George's.
My apologies, Mr. Chairman.
okay. Yeah.
Senator may proceed.
When we did our community meetings, I guess all on Zoom last spring, we thought the issues were going to be COVID. This was the single biggest issue all over our district. So I cannot go home if I don't get this right. What the senator was referring to is, it looks like you could do, muffler shopping. And I don't understand, because different jurisdictions would have different rules. And so if you want to do this, you just get the place with the worst rules.
So it's only if you're in. So if I go to let's just use Silver Spring.
Yeah.
If I'm in Silver Spring, that's subject to Montgomery County's
being the shop.
The shop.
Yeah.
Right. So if I go and get my muffler, and that shop in that jurisdiction is not allowed to affix a muffler that is louder than whatever the local rules say. So if you're in Montgomery County and the rule is 8, you can't do
So as
anything
an owner, you would go to a jurisdiction where they had a lower rule.
Correct, but then you come back, you're still personally,
The driver is, but not the shop.
Correct. So it's a way to control the local flow where you are in your jurisdiction. It's not a foolproof solution, but it's a step forward.
There are no foolproof solutions
That's
in
correct.
this life, only in the hereafter.
Yeah.
So my question is, why couldn't you go further than that to get at the industry? It's basically an industry. It's a business. Well, I don't understand why we wouldn't just set a standard and enforce it.
Well, I guess then you'd have to change the ordinance laws across the state, and it'd have to be uniform for the ordinance. Because as the senator from Carroll County said, it's kind of a patchwork. So Carroll County, the noise ordinance may be different than what is in Montgomery County, and so too for Prince George's.
Well, I understand that, but why don't we just make them have to go to Virginia? We could pass a statewide law saying what kind of mufflers you can put in.
Well, that's a different policy call. That's a totally different policy call. We have to say there's a uniform noise ordinance in the entire state, and I'm not sure that this body's ready to do that for various reasons.
Well, I'd like to lay this over to think about this a little bit and talk with you a
The
little more
layover
about it.
wouldn't be in order, but a senator
special
can move
order.
to special order until
Special order.
tomorrow.
Special order tomorrow. Thank you.
We have one, it looks like we may have one question. Why don't we hold the special order for a moment?
Oh, sure.
And then Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore City on the report.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Chair. I just was trying to get an understanding. I'm not very clear on some of the issues that go through JPR, but when I look at page 5, number 6, and it looks like a person, if you possibly cause a death, that you get 1 year, a maximum of 1 year.
Well, that's current law.
So I'm reading page 5, line 31. It looked like you all, page 4, line 31, I apologize. It looked like it's added language.
Serious bodily injury as defined in this. Okay, I think so. Usually, I think it's because before this, in order to have the reckless, you'd have to cause bodily injury. We're changing that. You no longer have to cause bodily injury to be subject to this penalty now.
Would that penalty be normal? I guess if someone's doing something they're not supposed to do, and obviously someone dies because you're doing something that you're not supposed to do, the maximum that you would be able to receive is 1 year?
That'd just be manslaughter, right?
I mean, the Senate President is right.
Sorry.
So this is just for this, but then you're also going to get slapped with a number of other charges.
Okay, I'm not as familiar with the JPR.
Got it.
piece of
No, so you'd get vehicular manslaughter or whatever else you were doing, you'd get a whole bunch of other criminal penalties or charges slapped on you as well, on
Okay.
top of this.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was talking to myself and wasn't talking to myself.
You're right.
All right, Chair recognizes. All right, we got a lot of questions on this bill. Thinking maybe we do the motion now. Chair, Senator from.
Mine is not substantive, but educational, I think, for the body.
Let's just wait. Let's just take this later. All right.
I move we special order this bill.
Are there any
appropriate time
objections to
tomorrow.
special order? Without objection, the bill will be special order to the appropriate time tomorrow. All right. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 777, Senator Carter,
the
Public
jackpot.
Information Act, records related to police misconduct, fees, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the bill sponsors, the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended, this bill establishes a task force to study Public Information Act requests made to law enforcement. The task force is required to submit an interim report on its findings to the General Assembly on or before December 31st, 2022, and a final report to the General Assembly on or before December 31st, 2023. Provisions of the bill terminate after February 29th, 2024. There are 2 committee amendments. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 strikes provisions of the bill and establishes a task force. I would move the amendment and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Yes, Chair recognizes Senator from Prince
Thank you,
George's
Mr.
on the report. Will the floor
Could you
leader
please
yield?
yield? Does
Senator
that
may
include
proceed.
the state police?
I'm sorry?
Does that include state police?
I believe so,
What
yeah.
other, does it include all police officers?
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any further discussion of the report? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 777 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reader. All right, let's stick with judicial proceedings. Report 23, clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 731, Senator Watson, vehicle towing or removal, secured parties, electronic notification, favorable.
Chair recognizes the sponsor of the bill as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill requires a person who tows a vehicle to notify any secured party electronically if that form of notice is agreed to by the tower and the secured party. There are no committee amendments. I move the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves through the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 731 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reader. All right, we'll shift to Education, Health, Environmental Affairs. Calendar 34. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 695, Senator Carrozza, Natural Resources Voluntary Firewood Treatment Certification Program, establishment, favorable.
Chair recognizes the bill sponsors the floor leader.
Good evening, Mr. President and colleagues. Senate Bill 695 establishes the Voluntary Firewood Treatment Certification Program in the Maryland Department of Natural Resources to certify forest product operators who export firewood to other states and use heat treatment and other procedures to prevent the presence of wood pests in the firewood products. The program that it authorizes is voluntary, applying only to those operators with commercial firewood dry kilns who would like state certification. There are no committee amendments, and I move a favorable report for Senate Bill 695.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 695 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reader. All right, let's go to the special orders. See what we've got here. All right, calendar number 51. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 166, Senator Ellis, Maryland Medical Assistance Program, doula services coverage. Bill is on 3rd reading for final passage.
Let's, can we ring the bells quickly? All right, Senate Bill 166 is on 3rd reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 30 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 166, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, we'll go to Special Order Calendar 52. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 723, Senator King, Sales and Use Tax, Digital Product Definition. Questions on the adoption of the favorable report?
All right, questions on the report? Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 723 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Oh, we got a fun one next. All right. This is Calendar 53. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 820, Senator Lamb, Child Abuse and Neglect Investigations Timeliness. Questions on the adoption of the amendments offered from the floor by the Judicial Proceedings Committee.
All right, this is going to be a little bit complicated. We'll recognize the maker of the amendment who has a motion.
I'm not sure what the motion. The motion is to withdraw the amendments previously offered and offer a new set of amendments.
We can't get quite there, so we're going to, the senator has moved to withdraw the amendments. Are there any objections? The amendments are withdrawn. Senator, have another motion?
Yes, I move to adopt the new amendments.
Oh, not quite there. Sorry. I think we may have to reconsider the vote by which we accepted the committee amendments.
I move to reconsider the vote by which we consider the bill.
That we accepted the committee amendments.
Accepted the committee amendments.
Are there any objections to reconsideration of the vote by which we adopted the favorable committee report? No objections. The motion carries. We now have a new motion.
I motion to adopt the new set of amendments.
Senator has an amendment that would substitute the committee amendments for the amendments on the floor. Have we collected
They were
those?
previously distributed.
All right.
If you'd like the number, I can give you the number.
Do we have it? Let's do the number just to make sure.
It's 243-621/1.
All right. So just to be clear, we had passed the report. We took the report back, the favorable report. We took back the amendments, and now the motion is to substitute the committee amendments with the amendments that are on the floor.
The new committee amendment makes a technical change. The bill sunsets in 5 years, and it just clarifies that the reporting requirements sunset and not the addition of the new personnel who were added to the bill. That does not sunset. That continues.
All right. The senator has moved the substitute committee amendments. Any discussion on the substitute committee amendments? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The substitute committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 820 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. All right. Let's do a quorum call before third reading calendar.
Mr. President,
has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. All right, we'll see how much we can get through. With 46 members present and a quorum present, Senate Maryland remains in session. This is third reading calendar number 37. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 11, Senator Lee, Work Group on Online Consumer Personal Information Privacy.
All right, Senate Bill 11 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 11, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 14, Senator Elfreth, Sustainable Maryland Program Fund Establishment.
Senate Bill 14 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 14, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 46, Senator McCray, Housing and Community Development Programs and Projects Requirements.
Senate Bill 46 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 46, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 64, Senator Carrozza, Beach Erosion Control District, State and City-Owned Structures.
The flips, 46, 64. All right, Senate Bill 64 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 64, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Chair recognizes Senator from
Mr.
Montgomery
President,
County.
my button didn't work. I'd like to be recorded in the green. in the
We should have
affirmative.
it checked out. Checked out. Any objections? Without objection, Senator will be recorded in the green. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 72, Senator Patterson, Minority Participation in the Alcohol Beverages Industry Study.
Senate Bill 72 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 72, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 92, Senator Augustine, Real Property, Partition of Property.
Senate Bill 92 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 92, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 121, Senator Hester, Maryland Farms and Family Fund, Maryland Food and Agriculture Resiliency Mechanism Grant Program, and Maryland Farm to School Meal Grant Pilot Program, alterations and establishment.
All right, Senate Bill 121 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 121, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 373, Senator Kagan, Department of Transportation, Notice of Entry onto Private Property. This is an emergency bill.
Senate Bill 373 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 33 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 373, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 383, Senator King, Maryland Association of Environmental and Outdoor Education Grant, Funding and Evaluation Extension.
Senate Bill 383 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded the vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 383, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 393, the President, Economic Development Project Restore Program and Fund.
Senate Bill 393 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 393, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 455, Senator Bailey, Chesapeake Bay and Coastal Sport Fishing License and Recreational Fishing Pilot Program and Task Force.
Senate Bill 455 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 455, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 466, Senator Carter, Potomac River Compact, clarification of the effectiveness of amendments.
Senate Bill 466 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 466, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Chair recognizes the senator from Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since we're at the end of the calendar, I wondered if I could be recorded in the negative on Senate Bill 373.
Green to red on
Green to red.
373.
Thank you,
Any
Mr. President.
objections? Without objections, we will change the vote. All right, let's go to 38. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 476, Senator Hester, alcoholic beverages, manufacturer's licenses, and off-site permits, sunset extension.
Senate Bill 476 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 476, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 527, Senator Feldman, elderly individuals, Howard County and Montgomery County Adult Daycare Services, Pilot Program and Task Force.
Senate Bill 527 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 527, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 537, Senator Carrozza, Department of Natural Resources, Shrimp Fishery Regulations Clarification.
Senate Bill 537 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 537, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 545, Carroll County Senators, Carroll County Commissioners, Compensation and Benefits. This is an emergency bill.
Senate Bill 545 is on third reader for final passage. Senators, this is an emergency bill. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 545, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 560, Senator Feldman, Maryland Economic Development Corporation, Student Housing, Applications and Occupancy Agreements.
Senate Bill 560 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 560, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 568, Senator McCray, Health Records and Reporting of Overdoses, Limitations on Use in Criminal Investigation or Prosecution.
Senate Bill 568 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Wish to change, explain? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 568, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 569, Senator Simon Ayer, Alcoholic Beverages, Class 4, Limited Winery Licenses Extension.
Senate Bill 569 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 569, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 595, Senator Gazzone, University of Maryland, Institute for Public Leadership Establishment.
Senate Bill 595 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 595, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 601, Senator McCray, Baltimore City Soil Conservation District Establishment Requirements.
Senate Bill 601 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Explain, change? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 601, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 604, Senator McCray, Maryland Electricians Act Revisions.
Senate Bill 604 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 604, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 614, Senator Wallstreicher, Criminal Law, Controlled Dangerous Substances Schedule Adjustment.
Senate Bill 614 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 614, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 625, Senator Heddleman, Transportation of Persons with Disability, Transportation Network Companies, Employee Requirements and Study. This is an emergency bill.
Senate Bill 625 is on third reader for final passage. This is an emergency bill. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded the vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 625, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. We'll do one more. One more. $39. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 633, Senator Kagan, Public Safety 911 Emergency Telephone System Alterations.
You all don't know what's behind. That's the problem. All right, Senate Bill 633 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion?
Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the minority
Whip. Yes,
There
sir.
it is.
Thank you. Mr. President, thank you. I rise to speak about this bill briefly, just to remind the body a little bit about and talk about the issue for a moment. There's a lot to like in this bill. I think every member of this chamber supports our 911 operators, supports having a strong public safety system. I like changing making sure it's clear that if you're on those 911 calls, if you're one of the operators, you are a first responder. We want to treat you as such, and there's a lot of good things about this bill and the overall initiative that's happened in the last several years. But just part of our discussion on the floor the last few days, we've talked about the ways that the actions we take, even with the best of intentions, can have far-reaching unintended consequences. Earlier in the debate over paid leave, we talked about something being just $5 or $6 a week out of somebody's paycheck. But here's the problem. We do a lot of that kind of thing down here. It's not, it adds up very quickly, especially for people who are in the middle class or or poorer. And what we're doing with this bill, Barrett, and we tried to address it, is we're removing any caps on the limit that a county government can charge per line for a cell phone plan. And when a cell phone plan gets past a couple phones for families, it starts to really add up quick. So I'm going to be voting no, red on this bill. I wanted to make it clear I support the aims of the bill to support our 911 operators, but I do not believe we should have removed any limits on what county governments can charge per line per cell phone. So for that reason, I'm voting red, Mr. President, and thank you very much.
All right, on any further discussion on the bill, Chair recognizes the minority leader.
Yeah, I just wanted to voice my support for some of the bill. The first responders, I think, was a good portion in there. Thank you. So anyway, I do support some of it. I appreciate the senator putting some good work in there. The problem I have, as my seatmate has talked about, is there's $80 million that they're saying they haven't recouped. This bill allows our locals to recoup $80 million. So this could be an $80 million fee, tax, whatever you want to call it, on the citizens of Maryland, and I just can't vote for that. Thank you.
All right, any further discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 31 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 633, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 662, Senator Zucker, Access to Counsel and Eviction Special Fund Funding.
Senate Bill 662 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 662, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 668, Senator Smith, Juveniles Truancy Reduction Pilot Program Expansion.
Senate Bill 668 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 668, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 713, Senator Riley, Anne Arundel County Natural Resources Fishing Gear.
Senate Bill 713 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 713, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 763, Senator Signal, Public Safety and Criminal Procedure, Collection, Reporting, and Publication of Criminal Case and Prosecutorial Information, Maryland Criminal Justice Transparency Act.
Senate Bill 763 is on third reader. Chair recognizes the senator from the 34th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this bill points out the sponsor originally came in with a fairly broad bill to collect data. We kind of limped away with a fraction of that, and so the billing, and it's not to his fault. I mean, he did a good job with the bill. No, this is serious. I'm not intending to attack the sponsor. He did a great job with the bill. But it just highlights the challenge that we all have. But I know we face this all the time on the Judicial Proceedings Committee. We're trying to set policy, and to set policy, you know what you're talking about, and that's in the data. We've really just got to do a better job in getting data. I mean, this bill, we had thought about, you're collecting some data on the defendant. What about the victim? We'd like to add some victim data in there. But just broadly, looking at a broader scheme is when we have someone in the system, we should be able to find out what school they went to, what were their problems before they ended up in the system, and how do they do after the system. We're just not going to get our hands around really serving effective criminal justice, and I hate to use criminal justice, in serving the citizens of the state who have problems, whether they're in the criminal side or Department of Social Services or educational. We're just not going to be able to serve them effectively until we really wrap our hands around the data collection piece. And we have a lot of these little silos of excellence. This person has data, this person has data, this person has data, tons of data. It doesn't work together, and because of that, we're deprived of that knowledge. So I just thought it was a great bill to make that point. Hopefully this is something we can start tackling in the next couple of years, but really opening this up. We have so much data these days. I mean, in this world of this day of computers, there's so much data out there, and we're really deprived of the effective use of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. All right, any further discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 763, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 797, Senator Gazzoni, Human Services Cash Campaign Annual Appropriation.
Senate Bill 797 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 797, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 801, Senator Gazzoni, State Health Plan, Chesapeake Bay Commission Retirees.
Senate Bill 801 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 801, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 834, Senator Bidle, Health Insurance, Two-Sided Incentive Arrangements and Capitated Payments Authorization.
Senate Bill 834 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 834, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 870, Senator Washington, Baltimore City Youth Data Hub Establishment.
Senate Bill 870 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. 46 votes in the affirmative. Senate Bill 870, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 876, Senator Bailey, Water Pollution, Civil and Administrative Penalty Surcharge, Oyster Repletion Fund.
Senate Bill 876 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 876, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 900, Cecil County Senators, Cecil County Fishing Revisions.
Senate Bill 900 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 900, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 1005, Senator Elfrith, State Retirement and Pension System, divestment from Russia. This is a emergency bill.
Senate Bill 1005 is on third reading for final passage. Senators, this is an emergency bill. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? And anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? Chair recognizes the senator from the 44th District has 2 minutes to explain his vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. As a co-sponsor of Senate Bill 1005, I find it unacceptable for Russia to subject the Ukrainian people to this unprovoked war. My co-sponsorship and vote today are grounded in doing what is right and just. I stand with everyone else who stands with Ukraine because it's humane and the right action to take. When divestment was done decades ago in South Africa because of apartheid, it was the right action to take. Reviewing our investments for purposes of divesting is also the right thing to do. However, in 4 days, on March 21st, the International Day of the Elimination of Racial Discrimination is observed. On that day in 1960, the police in Sharpeville, South Africa opened fire and killed 69 people at a peaceful demonstration against apartheid pass laws. Why is this relevant to my vote? It is unfortunate, and I am disturbed by the numerous reports by CNN and the BBC and foreign news broadcasting cannot in good conscience turn a blind eye to the mistreatment that East Indian and Black African and Caribbean citizens have endured at the Ukrainian border. Racism is unacceptable. I've had these conversations with our colleague and from District 23 who has asked me to share his similar concerns. In fact, I understand his constituent, a pro ball player, Maurice Creek, recently made it home after his delayed evacuation through Moldova. All people have the right to safe passage under the UN Convention to cross international borders during this time of conflict as we are seeing in the Ukraine, and as such should enjoy the same rights to cross safely away from this conflict without regard to their nationality or racial identity. Mr. President, we must love our neighbors as we love ourselves. We must do better treating everyone humanely. Thank you.
Right on, well said. All right, any further senators wish to explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 1005, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, 41. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 5, Senator Patterson, General Provisions, Commemorative Days, Tuskegee Airmen Commemoration Day.
All right, Senate Bill 5 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 5, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 323, Senator Augustine, Public Health, Medications to treat an opioid use disorder, preferred and non-preferred medications.
Senate Bill 323 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 323, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 437, Senator McCray, Agriculture, University of Maryland Extension, Urban Farmer Assistance.
Senate Bill 437 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 437, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 438, Senator McCray, Young Readers Program Establishment, Young Readers Program Expansion Act.
Senate Bill 438 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 438, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 497, Senator Gallion, Deer Management Permit, Hunting on State Land Leased by Permit Holder, Authorization.
Senate Bill 497 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 497, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 501, Senator Elfreth, Maryland Higher Education Commission Procedures Alterations.
Senate Bill 501 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. Chair recognizes the senator from District 11. Or 10, I'm sorry, 10.
Colleagues, it has just been brought to my attention by one of our colleagues from Baltimore County that the former delegate Emmett Burns died today.
Oh, no.
He served 20 years in the House before his retirement in 2014. He was one of our colleagues. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator. We'll potentially adjourn in his honor here. All right. That was not, there's another page. Clerk, read the next bill. Apologies.
Senate Bill 538, Senator Carrozza, Land Use, Agritourism Definition.
All right, Senate Bill 538 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 538, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. 43. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 38, Senator Kramer, Public Safety, Fire and Rescue, Veterinary Care of Retired Fire and Rescue Canines.
All right, Senate Bill 38 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 38, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 53, Senator Carter, Juvenile Law Child Interrogation Protection Act.
Senate Bill 53 is on third reader for final passage. Chair recognizes the senator from the 34th District on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this bill will not serve our public interest. This bill does not do anything to improve the current problems with terrible rate of juvenile crime. The case, you know, were there problems in the 60s and 70s? The problem in other states, yeah. Where are we today? A couple of things that were brought out in the testimony. First of all, in 2011, the Supreme Court ruled that a child's age can now be considered by a court in deciding whether the child understood their rights. So we don't have the same standard across everybody being given their rights. So there is a sliding scale there. The suggestion was made that we're denying people their rights. It's just not true. The courts look at that and they see whether the child understood their rights, and that's an important piece. The other thing that's changed is that we've now got videotapes. Remember, we required all the police to carry cameras. So at where we are right now, because of technology, is that if somebody says, hey, this child didn't understand their rights, they didn't understand what they were doing, they didn't give a knowing and voluntary waiver of their rights, they didn't even know they were in custody, the judge just simply pulls up the videotape. They can sit there and watch the entire transaction before their very eyes for the first time in history. The judge is going to sit there and say, I saw you approach the child. They either understood or didn't understand they were in custody, and they either understood or didn't understand their rights. So we have this ability to see this without these restrictions in this law. So the problem with what we're doing now is we've gone too far. What this bill is basically going to do is it's going to chill police interactions. We know that's going on already. We know that we've already chilled police interactions on the streets. That's why we have people carrying guns openly in the streets. That's why we have this proliferation of crime, because we've chilled police interactions for the adult crimes. Now we're taking that down into juvenile crimes. And I guess my final problem with this, which I really strongly objected to, was that there's an exclusionary rule here, that if you don't abide by the terms of this bill, then the evidence is excluded. But we apply that not only in criminal proceedings, but also in juvenile proceedings. Juvenile proceedings are not punitive. Juvenile proceedings are intended to get the juvenile the services that they need. So what we're saying is, well, the cop didn't do what they were supposed to do, so you don't get the attention that you need. That's totally wrong. If there's a problem, the juvenile needs to go into the system and have the problem addressed. It does us no good to have us turn a blind eye and not put that child in the system. We see what happens when that happens. They're not in that system, but the problems magnify, and eventually they end up in the DOC doing 5 or 10 years. So this is hurtful. This is not productive. It's a solution looking for a problem. The technology has caught up to us here, and I urge a grad vote on this bill. Thank you.
All right, any further discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 30 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 53, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 207, Chair Finance Committee, Insurance Carriers and Managed Care Organizations, Cybersecurity Standards.
Senate Bill 207 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 207, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 247, Senator Hayes, State Department of Assessment and Taxation, Real Property Assessments and Appeals.
Senate Bill 247 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 247, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 251, Senator Hayes, Income Tax Subtraction Modification for Centenarians.
Senate Bill 251 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 251, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 310, Senator Elfreth, Anne Arundel County and City of Annapolis, Small Minority and Women-Owned Businesses Account, Local State of Emergency.
Senate Bill 310 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 310, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 314, Senator Rosapep, Income Tax Mechanical Installation Tax Credit.
Senate Bill 314 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 314, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 354, Senator Elfreth, Bay Restoration Fund, Intended Use Plans and Privately Owned Wastewater Facilities.
Senate Bill 354 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 354, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 362, Senator Penske, Primary and Secondary Education, Virtual Schools Revisions.
Senate Bill 362 is on third reader for final passage. Chair recognizes Senator from College Park as the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and I apologize to the group for explaining my vote at this hour. but it will be a couple more than 2 minutes. It'll be pretty short. The chairman of the committee, who is, we share our neighboring districts, we've served together in the House, we've served on the Education Subcommittee in the Senate. Our voting records are probably very, very similar, but there's one issue that we have some significant disagreement and have over the years. And so when I was talking with my friend and colleague a month or 2 or 3 ago about various local issues, he said, I want to mention to you that I got a bill that you probably won't like. And I said, don't assume that. And so he said, here's what I want to do. I want to put guardrails around online education. And he knew that I'm a big proponent of online education. And so I said, well, let me take a look at it. And so I took a look at it. And frankly, I saw a lot of problems with it. And I said, I'm going to propose some amendments. And so I put together some amendments, and other people put together amendments. And I want to thank the chairman because he took many of the amendments, not all of the amendments. And I think as a result, I'm going to vote for the bill because I do not think it does the kind of damage to online education that I feared it would. Secondly, though, the thrust of the bill is about the dangers of online education, not the opportunities in online education. I believe the internet's here to stay. I believe that little kids are digital natives. I believe that the internet and the digitalization of information and education is to our century what movable type was to the 16th century. And we all know that. We're all looking at the internet, looking at information, getting questions answered. There's a school in Anne Arundel County that during COVID was able to have native Spanish speakers from South America teach elementary school kids online. Just one example. The opportunities that online education provide are enormous. And I'd hope next year when we come back, we deal with some legislation to really promote quality online education. And with that, I'm going to vote for the bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, on the bill, any further discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call.
Mr.
Oh,
President.
I'm sorry, apologies. The chair recognizes the senator from the 38th district. To
Thank you,
explain her
Mr.
vote.
President. To explain my vote, I am voting against this bill because we worked in good faith to try to make sure the Eastern Shore School Consortium's blended virtual program could go forward, and found out even in the process of working this, that even if they had continued to meet the performance goals and serve these 350 students in the 7 out of the 9 counties on the shore, that it would still be shut down. That's simply not fair, and that is why I'm casting a no vote.
Thank you, Senator. All right, any further explanations of vote? If not, with 31 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 362, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 394, the President, Statewide Targeted Overdose Prevention, STOP Act of 2022.
Senate Bill 394 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 394, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. We've got a message from the House, number 17, message from the House. Clerk, read the bills.
House Bill 232, Montgomery County Delegation, Montgomery County Alcoholic Beverages, Class B Beer, Wine, and Liquor, Clubhouse Lodge License, Manufacturer Licenses, and Montgomery County 2322 EHE.
Majority Leader moves so be considered the reading of the bills. They will be referred to the appropriate standing committees. We have got another message. Clerk will read the message.
House Bill 460, Delegate Guyton, Baltimore County Alcoholic Beverages Licenses, Transfers, EHE.
All right. Majority Leader moves so be considered the reading of the bills. The bills will be referred to their appropriate standing committees. All right. That does it. Do we have any additional or committee announcements before the morning? Anything in the morning? Announcements? Yes. Chair recognizes the Chair of Judicial Proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. President. What time are we coming in tomorrow for the floor?
10.
10.
10.
Well, JPR will vote at 9.
Whew. Working hard. 9 o'clock for JPR. Any other announcements, delegations, select committees? Yes, Chair recognizes the Senator from Prince George's.
Mr. President, just vote change.
Sure.
I'd like to be recorded in the green on Senate Bill 53, recorded in the green.
53 in the green. Any objections to the senator's change? Without objection, so ordered. Chair recognizes Senator from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go from red to green on 633.
Red to green on 633. Any objections? So ordered. For 27?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to go to be recorded in the green for Senate Bill 251.
251 to the green. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Any other administrative duties here? Chair recognizes Senator from District 10. Chair of Finance.
Yeah, I had to wait to see when we were coming in. We agreed before we left that we would come in 1 hour early in order to vote.
So 9 o'clock for voting and finance? All right, 9 o'clock finance. Any other announcements? Chair recognizes the Senator from Montgomery County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today is St. Patrick's Day, but it was also the holiday of Purim, and in between the two sessions, our good friends at the Baltimore Jewish Council and the Jewish Community Relations Council dropped off Hamantashen to our offices. So if you're leaving today and still a little bit hungry, those are in your offices. Make sure to take care of your staff, and thank you again to BJC and JCRC. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator, and they were delicious. They were delicious. Yes, Chair recognizes the Senator from Carroll.
Mr. President, 2 notes. One is that I love Hamantashen. Never had it until I became an elected official. I ate both cookies very quickly, and it's great to recognize that. And also, I just want to shout out the Senator from Gaithersburg and Rockville. Her shadow today is the all-time elite shadow.
Yes.
He is still here. I think we should give him a round of applause.
The MVP. Take some dedication. All right. Any further announcements before we take a quorum call? If not, Madam Clerk.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 46 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, Senate Maryland remains in session. Chair recognizes the President Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate stand adjourned until Friday, March 18th at 10 a.m. in memory of former Delegate Emmett Burns, Jr.
Without objection, so ordered. Stay safe, everyone. See you in the morning.